Pasuk Lamed, and we're now up to the point where David is not at the Rosh Chodesh meal, and on the second day, Shul is asking Yonasan, where is he? And Yonasan said, I gave him permission to go to a family simcha. Now we're going to see Shul's reaction in Pasuk Lamed. Vayichar af Shul b'Yonasan. Shul got angry at Yonasan. Vayomer lo, and he says to him, and the next three words are very difficult, and the commentators have a lot to say on this. Ben Na'avas Hamardus. You are the son of Na'avas, which we'll explain. Hamardus, which simply means of rebellion. Some kind of rebellious son. We'll see. We'll explain. Halo yadati, don't I know? Ki bocher atol ven yishai levoshtecha ulevoshes ervasimecha. That you have chosen the son of Ishai to become an embarrassment for you and for an embarrassment of the intimacy of your mother. What is that supposed to mean? So we'll start with the Malbim. The Malbim explains, is that where we want to start? Yeah. So he says this is an analogy for when you're looking at rebellion. When you typically get a rebellion from a king. So in theory, he says the normal way a rebellion is that a servant rebels against his master in order to throw off the yoke from the master and to reign in his place. You don't like a king, you want to throw off his yoke, you rebel. You want to be the king, you rebel. But nobody rebels, and even a son would rebel against a father if he just, power hungry. As we'll see, Avshalom does the same thing to David later on. That we understand. But for a son to rebel against the father so that somebody else should take over the kingdom, so if that would happen, we would call that a rebellion of lunacy. Doesn't make any sense. Why should a son rebel against his father so that somebody else should become the king? So that's what he's saying. You are having a rebellion that is na'avas hamardus, which is a meshugan rebellion. It's a crazy rebellion. Doesn't make sense, your rebellion. And that's what he's saying. And I know that you have chosen Ben Yisha over me, and therefore to rebel against me, and you should know this is going to be a shame for you and a shame for your mother, because now the kingdom will go away from her lineage and go to somebody else. So that's the way the Malbim said. It's crazy what you're doing. Doesn't make any sense. You didn't like me. You want to at least be the king afterwards. Okay, I understand. So it shows I don't even begin to understand what is the purpose of what your rebellion is all about. That's one interpretation. The Ralbag gives us a few other interpretations. The Ralbag says that it's lacking ethics. He has a sense of distorted ethics, and he's using the word mardus as a definition of the word ethics, of a distortion, not of rebellion. Normally, mardus from merit can mean rebellion, but it's going to be in terms of ethics, distorted ethics. He calls this me'uvas hamusar. He says, as if to say that that your mother did not rebuke you enough when you were a child, and therefore you're not being able to hear and live by musar properly. And that's what, for example, it says, when there's an expression of the Talmud, if you recall, we learned in the Rambam, when you give rabbinic lashes, it's called makas mardus. Makas mardus. So what does the word mardus mean? Over there it means musar. Musar. We give them the lashes not because biblically you're supposed to get lashes, but it's a musar that the person has to learn from that and develop a certain ethics.
Correction.
Yeah. So therefore he's saying, you're lacking in this musar because you probably didn't get enough when you were young, and therefore, what you're doing is just not an ethical thing to do. and therefore that's an embarrassment to you, and it's an embarrassment to your mother. Then he gives the other interpretation, that Mardus can mean out and out rebellion, and he likes that shot better. Meaning to say that he really is the son of a woman who isn't really fit for royalty. So therefore it's like an insult to the mother and an insult to him. But others will develop this a little bit more. Let's take a look at another commentary. Let's look at the Metzudas David. Metzudas David says, Navas Hamardus, he says, just like your mother has been influenced to rebel against me. In other words, he had a mother, he had a wife, it was maybe a henpecked husband or whatever. The wife rebelled against her husband, which is me. So you're like her son, just like her, to rebel against as well. He probably didn't have such an easygoing wife. And again, if you're a humble guy, right? He was a modest guy. You could have a wife who was not so humble, right? And now I see that you've chosen Ben Yishai instead of me, and that's going to be your embarrassment, an embarrassment for your mother. But people are going to say, why is this guy rebelling against his father? It must be he's not really his father. That his mother had the child from another man. And since he's not really his father, he's rebelling against his father. So it's an embarrassment to me, to you, and it's an embarrassment to your mother. Because people are going to say that your mother was not a moral person. And, who knows if maybe he was suspicious of that. Because after all, why would a person do that? Why would a son go against a father? We'll see with David and Avshalom, the wife of the mother of Avshalom was also not a regular woman, as we'll see. So there's now either people will say, or maybe he himself really thinks, what kind of wife did I have? She always was bossing me around, and she probably went and got involved in other affairs, and that's why he's not really my kid. And so you're going to cause a lot of embarrassment for yourself. Okay, so listen, it could be a combination of all these interpretations put together. I don't think any of the ones are mutually exclusive of the others. Now, Rashi gives us one last commentary to look at. Na'avas hamardus. He uses nava from the word lashon navenad, to move around. In other words, your mother, similar to the mitzvahs of it, your mother was a yatsanis. Your mother was very outgoing. And how outgoing was she? So hamardus, and this is what's causing why she is worthy of getting musar. Your mother should get musar. Nava Samardus, an outgoing woman, Nava, who's outgoing, Mardus, who really needed a little bit more musar in her life. And you'll see where this fits into Davar Acher. If you recall, when the tribe of Binyamin didn't have any women to marry after the Pelegesh Begiva incident, they had no one to marry. So what did they say? They would go to the daughters of Shiloh as they were out in the vineyards, and to grab the girls in the vineyards. So now Shul is from Sheva Binyamin. Let's not forget. So Shul was one of these men who did not have a wife. Shul, we know, is the humble guy. He was too introverted to go and catch a wife. The other guys are grabbing wives in the field. Shul isn't doing anything. So guess what? Shul's future wife sees him standing around on the sides of vineyards, and she goes herself and has the chutzpah to run after him and catch him. So Navas also from the expression of kromim, of vineyards. So in other words, that's the kind of mother you had. She, there's words for women like that, and your mother was such a person. So you're pretty similar to your mother. She's pretty forward and no shame. You don't have much shame either. I'm your father. You got to show some loyalty to the family here. And you have the same characteristics.
What was the problem? That that Jonathan gave him permission not to come to this? That's the problem?
The whole thing. Shul doesn't understand how they're good friends. How can let me ask you a question. Don't we have times where parents, where an adult is in an argument with an adult, right? And now the parent will say to the son, we don't talk to these people.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
The Hatfields and the McCoys. I'm talking, stay away from this family. It's a bad family. The father's a Ganef. And can you imagine what kind of kids he's got? And so usually these fights spread. It's not just between parent and parent. It becomes children against children. And to a certain degree, the parents have a certain expectation. They want the children to be loyal.
Right.
They want the children to be loyal. That, you take your family's side. That's not unusual. I mean, it's not right, but it's not unusual. Especially if you're dealing with business, family business, and the kingdom is no less than a family business. So then this guy wants to hurt the family, and the family has to stay together. And what are you befriending him for?
And that was percolating in Shaul's mind, because actually all he did is says, okay, you can go to your family because you have a simcha. So it's not such a...
Okay, but it's again, they were such good friends, they must have been hanging around together a lot, all these things. And it's just another indication. What are you giving permission for? He's a wanted man. I wanted to kill him. As far as he's concerned now, he's public enemy number one. So you're helping public enemy number one? What's going on over here? So you're foolish and this and that, and you have the same qualities of your mother, who was a yatsonis, forward. And you're pretty forward in terms of what you're doing over here. That's interesting, coincidentally or not, when we talk about the sons of Shimon, way back in Sefer Breshis, one of the children, don't confuse here, just coincidence, son of Shimon was Shul ben Haknanis. That's not the same Shul. It can't be the same Shul. But the interesting, it's called Shul ben Haknanis. Shul, Shimon's son, was Shul, the son of a Canaanite woman. How would he marry a Canaanite woman? So what does Rashi say there? Who's the Canaanite woman? Dinah. Because Dinah was raped by a Canaanite. And according to one medrash, Shimon was the brother who would marry her after that. So again, you see that the first time Shaul's name is mentioned is regarding the son of a Canaanite who's a forward woman. And Dinah was called a Yatsonis, was called a forward woman. And Leah was called a Yatsonis.
Brother could marry his sister?
In those days, before the Torah was given. That's all question. How did the 12 tribes, who did they marry? What from girls were there to marry? There were no from mishpachas. Avram could find one woman, Yitzchak could find one woman, Yaakov could find one woman, but now how 12 boys? Where are they going to find 12 people? So one opinion says they married either twin sisters or etc. etc. So that's a side point. But what's interesting here is that you see that Binyamin is from a family of... Binyamin comes from Rachel, and Rachel is shnua, is modest, right? So that's the kind of traits, family traits, Shaul, as we see, has the same. He's shnua, he's modest, and very different to Leah, right? Rachel represents modesty. Leah represents yatsonis, being more forward. So he's saying, and this is where you're going to see, this is where you see issues again. Wherever it's hard for Shaul, Hashem makes it harder. So it appears that Shaul has a certain personality type. He is a shanua, he's modest, he's humble, right? And he marries a wife, so you can see his shidduch. He marries a wife who's a yatsanis, who's the opposite, And moreover, that's difficult enough to get along, to learn how to get along with a wife that's a different personality. And now it appears, the way we're explaining Yonasan manifests these traits, more Leah type of traits, which is not like his father, which is not the family traits, as it were. So father and son are going to have a lot of conflict. If the one is a tsanua and the other is yatsanis, it's hard to get along as well. So it just amplifies the troubles that it's bad enough, if you're a father, you're a king, and you got this guy that you've lost the kingship, right? And the hope was maybe it'll be my son. It didn't remember. The Navi never said who's going to be the next king. So okay, it's comforting to know I can't be the king. My son will be the king. And now I see my son is giving it to David. And already he's heard a lot of lashon hara about David, as we explained yesterday. So David is clearly in Shaul's mind not worthy to be the king. And I got my son, who really is a big tzaddik. Yonasan is a tzaddik in his own right, and in many ways could be a king too. He sees a lot of good qualities in Yonasan. Remember, how do we know? What's another example of Yonasan being Yatsanis? Remember when they had the war against the Plishtim, and they didn't know what to do, and Yonasan took the one lad with him, and they went and made a surprise attack? That's not, that's not a humble guy. Right? So you see, so he's a warrior, even if it's okay, so it's different personality traits to me, but at least maybe he could take over one day. And now what's happening, that he is friends with David, and like he kind of shows me how he's being misled, how this Russia is misleading my son. And now you're helping him? So you can understand why he's getting upset with his own son. Now, Reb Tzadok picks up on something that one of you guys mentioned. I don't remember. I know it came from this side. If you look, how is Shul referring to David as? Ben Yishai. Ben Yishai. You'll see it in this pasuk. You'll see it in the next pasuk, Lamed Aleph. It's called Ben Yishai. And he doesn't call him David. So on a simple level, you would say, when a person really hates somebody, they don't even want to call him by name. They don't want to call him by name. Ben Yishai, it's kind of a negative term. He's an adult. If your kid's 5 and 6 year old, okay, you say he's Schwartz's son, right? Well, the guy's already, David must be at least in his late 20s. To call him Schwartz's son, that's like very insulting. So that'll be a simple shot. But Reb Tzadok says a lot deeper than this. David, in truth, had two good things going for him. Number one, he was the son of Yishai, and his father Yishai had tremendous traits. He was a tzaddik who never ever sinned in once in his life. And David had different traits on his own. Very emotional type of person in a good way, and a person who's very forward and can do a lot of things. So David carried his father, and we call him at the how do we say in Yishtabach? David ben Yishai Avdecha Meshichecha. David, the son of Yishai. There's two good things going for David, and that's the way it should be. You want to have yichus of a tzaddik, and you're a tzaddik, and that's a wonderful thing. But Shul always called him Ben Yishai. Why? Because he thought that the only virtue David had was his father's virtues, but he didn't have his own virtues. So Ben Yishai, his father was a big tzaddik, right? And he's saying that, okay, I understand he was Ben Yishai, but David doesn't really have anything, and that's why he calls him Ben Yishai. And obviously, if they're different qualities than what Shul had, he wouldn't look at it as a virtue. A lot of people have trouble getting along with different personalities, and many times we look at people with different personalities not as, okay, he's got some wonderfully different personalities than me, but it's just not a good personality. If it's different, it's bad. So he's looking at David with his incredibly great new midos that are new to Klal Yisrael, and he's like, this isn't the way we do things. If the original king was picked as a humble person, then that should be an attribute for all kings. And this is what I had, restraint and all. What's the hallmark of the family of Rachel? Restraint, not giving into sins, never sinning. It's Yosef. Right? Now he's seeing in David different qualities. So he's not even seeing them as qualities. The only qualities he can see is I can't argue. He has a father who's a tzaddik. So that's all he is. He has a father who's a tzaddik, and he's carrying that greatness. And remember, we have never gone through that piece from Elio Quito, which we have to do at one time. But David was the focal point of all kinds of lashon hara, not just from Doeg, but his whole family spoke lashon hara about him, because there was a lot of concern that David's mother had him out of wedlock. There's a lot of concern about that, and it wasn't true, but there was a lot of evidence that would seem to support that.
His father was such a tzaddik.
His father was a tzaddik, but the mother, it's a whole story. I don't have time. I don't have time right now. It would take me an hour to go through it. We'll do it one time. None of that. Bekitzer, he was such a big tzaddik, so after he had his 7 kids, he was afraid. He was afraid that maybe, after all, he wasn't Jewish, Yishai. He was a descendant of Rus. So he thought he wasn't, at the older age, he's doing tshuva, right? Maybe my grandmother wasn't Jewish. So then I'm not allowed to live with my wife. So he told his wife, in all piety, I think we shouldn't be together anymore. I'm afraid. But on the other hand, and remember, he's a tzaddik. On the other hand, if I'm without a woman, I'm a sinner. So he goes to one of the maidservants and he conditionally frees her and says, if I'm not really Jewish, I'm going to be married to you as a goy to a goy. And if I am Jewish, I free you on condition that you're a free person, then I'll live with you as a Jew to a Jew. Right? So the maidservant felt bad for the wife of Yishai, and without telling Yishai, so on the wedding night, he told the wife to switch. And Yishai was never the wiser, and from that, she became pregnant. So everyone was clearly thought that this pregnancy was out of wedlock, and that was David.
Yeah.
Okay, so now they think, oh, this is the kid born out of wedlock. So he was always treated as a second-hand child, and therefore if anything happened that was bad in the family, let's say, so therefore he was relegated to watch the sheep. If anything happened with the sheep, he's always blamed for all the faults that happened. There's a lot to talk about. David is the most misunderstood personality in Jewish history, and he was, like any public figure, like any rabbi, the most maligned from all people around. And people only complained about David HaMelech 24/7, from beginning to end of his life, 24/7. And especially then when we'll see he does these quote-unquote sin with Bathsheba, everyone's licking their chops, that now they can really go after David HaMelech, right? So Shaul wasn't the only one to fall victim to the Lashon Hara about David HaMelech. So you can. So now I say, this is a bad guy, and don't you think he did some investigating? He says, even his brothers aren't that happy with him. Remember we said the brother was blaming him. Why are you coming this time? Why did you leave the sheep behind? So he probably did some snooping around. He says, listen, even his brothers thinks he's not such a great guy. So now you of all people are helping him out? What's the matter with you? Father would be very upset. How would you like it if, let's say, somebody opens up a competition right across from you, right? And trying to do you under, right? It's your parnasa now, right? Serious, yeah? Wouldn't that be serious? Now your son goes and is friends with the other son. Would you really like that?
Or with him himself.
But the problem he's having here is that Jonathan can see that his father's wrong. His father's trying to kill somebody. I mean, it's, you're at he's not a 5-year-old.
On a father-son level, he's doing wrong.
There's something
Now Jonathan didn't believe it. Remember, Jonathan was saying
he didn't believe. No, Jonathan didn't believe. Yeah, that the father hated him so much.
Yeah.
So now he sees it. Now he sees it.
David, I'll go find out if he's really going to kill you or not.
So now we're finding out.
He thinks he's going to prove Shaul innocent. Remember, he
I know,
said
but even if there's a possibility, even if there's a possibility, he's not doing anything wrong.
We're not arguing that point. We're just explaining Shaul's position. Just explain where Shaul coming from, so we can appreciate Shaul's position. That's all.
Okay. So
now you have to. Now Yonasan is stuck in a bind. On the one hand, he doesn't want to outwardly go against his father. On the other hand, he understands that David is a tzaddik. So there's a lot to Yonasan's credit. That his loyalty to David, because that was the emes. That Yonasan could see the emes, and that's a very big virtue on Yonasan's part.
I mean, if a person dishonoring his parent, if he knows his parent is going to do something terrible, like murder somebody, and he does,
you have to stop the parent.
He stops him. He reports him.
You have to do that. Honoring your parents, there are limitations. God comes before parents, so he has to do what's right. But he still has to live with his father too, right? So he's not going to. You'll see. We'll see what his father's going to ask for. He's not going to listen to his father. You'll see what he is.
We'll probably get to eventually, but if David was so maligned by all the people and so tragic, then how come he became such a hero, so to speak?
A hero to who?
David Malach Yisrael.
First of all, that's whoever sang that. Who sings that?
No, but we say it in
secular Jews who don't know anything.
It's
Hashem. That's Hashem. That's in MS he is, but he didn't have good PR. The emes is he's tzaddik yisod olam. The emes is Mashiach comes from him. That's the emes. But the balabatim didn't appreciate it.
Wrongly.
the masses didn't
Wrongly.
appreciate it. They blamed him for everything.
Yeah, wrongly though. It's not that
You know,
he didn't deserve it.
You know, any good rabbi can relate to David HaMelech. Okay? You know, rabbi can do no right. Right? Can do no right. You heard a little bit of Lashon Hara about him? Oh, let's get rid of him. That's the same thing. It's just, what, teaching anything different over here? Right? So the same thing. So yeah, he's a tzaddik. You know, I guess when he won battles, you know, so the women sang, not the men. Same thing. The women tend to stay away from Lashon Hara. So the women sang his praises. The men didn't sing his praises. So you know, you know, he did not have good PR.
Part of his challenges in life.
So yeah, to still be a tzaddik when no one appreciates you.
Yeah.
That's what a Mashiach has to be. No one will appreciate you except Yonasan, and that's it. And we'll see. And his good buddy doesn't live very long. Lamed Aleph. So now let's go back to what Shul. We're still in the middle of Shul. Took a little bit longer than anticipated, but I think it's important to appreciate. So Shul continues in Lamed Aleph. Ki chol hayamim asher ben Yishai chai al adamah. As long as Ben Yishai lives on the earth, lo sikonato, you will not be established. Umalchusecha, and your kingdom will not be established. See, he wants him to be the king. V'atah now, shlach, go, send forth, v'kach, bring him to me. Ki ben mavesu, he is a person who has a death penalty on his head. So the Malbim explains, what does it mean that all the days that Ben Yishai is alive? He says, even if you will become the king, Yonasan, I will die and you will take over being the king, but your kingdom will not be strong because he will rebel against you too. Don't you trust him. He's your good friend. You wait and see. Even when I'm gone and you're going to rule, he'll turn against you too. And therefore, send it to me because that's for your benefit. Listen to me, my son. I care about you more than David cares about you. You're falling into a riffraff over here. Bring him to me, because he's a person who should die, because he's a Morid B'Malchus. He's a rebel against the king, and probably one of the proofs is he hasn't come to this meal now. He wasn't there. He's not supposed to ask you. He's supposed to ask the king. I mean, you know, you're my son, but you're not the one who gives permission. He's using you to go against me. That's not proper. So that's pretty clear. Well, so now Yonasan, he's got guts. He's going to defend David right to his father's face. Vayan Yonasan es Shaul aviv, and Yonasan answers Shaul his father, Vayomer elav, Lama yumas, why should he be put to death? Me'asa, what has he done? Lama Gimel. Shaul hears this. Vayotel Shaul es achanis alav lahakoso. Shaul grabs his spear to be ready to throw it at Yonasan. Now Yonasan knows for a fact it's finished from his father. There's no hope. He wants to kill David. And therefore, Yonasan gets up from the table in an anger. He's upset. Interesting why the Navi throws this line in again. Like, this is a non sequitur. And he didn't eat any bread at the meal. In other words, obviously it didn't start the meal. It was right before the meal. Again, like, this is really becoming, you see, the Navi is trying to say something here. Yesterday saying, you know, they were going to have the meal to eat the bread. And now, just say he got up from the meal in a huff. What's this idea? And he didn't eat on the second day the bread. There's something going on there, right? Ki ne'etzav el David, because he was saddened over David. Ki hichlimu aviv, for his father had embarrassed him. So the Malbim explains that even though the father embarrassed him, in other words, what got Yonasan upset? Was it the fact that his father embarrassed him? His father did embarrass him. He said, you know, you're probably an illegitimate child. You're not my child. These are typical parental responses to children not doing what parents want. You have these ideas. You're not my child. You have these. You're not my child. It's not my child would listen to me. You're not my child.
Son of mine.
You're no son of mine. Your mother probably, you're just like your mother. She fooled around and you're an illegitimate son. Right? So he insulted. But Malbim says that's not what saddened him. That wasn't what it was. It was what? He was saddened over that the father wants to kill David. It wasn't about him. It wasn't about him that he just got embarrassed. He was saddened over the fact that David was the one that he realized now David's a marked man. Okay, now, there was a very interesting Gemara that deals with this little part of the story. It's a Gemara in Erechim, and let's read it out for you. The Gemara in Erechim quotes the Torah that says, "Hocheach tochiach hasamisecha." There's a mitzvah for a person to rebuke another person. Hocheach tochiach, a double expression, which means you try often to rebuke a person, not just once. You keep trying until. The question is, ad heichan toichacha? How far do you go in rebuking? In other words, at what point do you stop rebuking? So the Gemara gives three opinions. Relazar Omer ad hakah. You rebuke until the person who you're rebuking will hit you. Until it gets to the point where he's going to hit you, then you stop. I don't know if it's Yosef or Yitzchak Omer ad klala. No, I don't have to go that far, just until the point where he curses you out. Benazai Omer ad nezifa. No, you only have to do to the point where he gets angry at you. To different levels, lower levels. Omer Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak ushlosh demikra chadarshu, and the three of them learn it from one pasuk. Which pasuk is it? These psukim that we're learning right now, where it says Vayichar av Shol b'Yonasan. Shol got angry at Yonasan. Vayomer, he said Ben Navas Hamardus. He says you're a rebellious son. Whatever the interpretations you said, it was quite insulting, and really he's cursing him out. Uksiv, and then it says Vayetel Shol asachani Shol v'lakoso. He takes the spear to throw it at him. So the one that says you rebuke until the point of being hit, dichsiv, it says lahakoso. It says he wanted to hit him. And at that point, okay, that's when he finally stopped. Right? If you're looking in the order of the story, right? That's when he answered the father and he gives it to him, right? That's number one. Lamanda Amar, I'm sorry, Ad Klala, you do it only until you get cursed. Tichsiv, Lavosh Shechol, Lavosh Ervas. It's an embarrassment to you, it's an embarrassment to your mother. That was cursing him out. Lamanda Amar Ad Nazif, until anger. Tichsiv, Vayichar Av Shol, Shol got angry. So now the Gemara asks a question here. So wait a minute, now let's see if you can be Talmudists over here. Do all three opinions make sense on what we just said? When did Yonasan give up?
After the hitting.
After the hitting. So where do the other two opinions figure in? No, because obviously he didn't stop after his father got angry. He didn't stop after his father cursed him out. He only stopped after his father wanted to kill him. If anything, it's a proof to the third opinion. How do the other two ones have any proof?
Because according to them, he shouldn't have done that last step, because that last step brought him almost to kill his son. So they're saying he should have stopped one step sooner.
But he didn't.
No, but according to...
He shouldn't have said, what did he do? According to their opinion, they should, that was proof. He brought him to the point where he almost killed him. He almost killed his own son. So they're saying he should have stopped one step sooner.
Well,
that's what it seems.
Well, the Gemara isn't thinking like you. Nice try.
Okay.
Nice try. But the Gemara is... So the Gemara asks, Ulaman Dharma Nazifa, the one that says no to the point of anger. Haksiv Hakav Klala. We see, first of all, it won't work. It's okay. It's interesting because it only asks on this rabbi. It doesn't ask on the other two rabbis. We see that he hit him and he cursed him. What about cursing? When it says Shiny Hasam, there Yonasan was different. Da'agav Chavivusa Yasera Dahavabeli Yasainasam David, since he really loved him so much. So Masar Nafshetay, he went more than he had to go. In other words, you know, what Yonasan says, you don't learn from that. Because he loved him so much. So to defend David, he really pushed the envelope against his father. But other people, you don't have to go that far. So clearly you learn from here. So that's a machlokas. How far do we go? I believe we paskin until the guy's ready to hit you. Let's see. One second. So the chinuch, now it's very interesting. If you really think about this, I'm just thinking about it now, and I don't have an answer offhand. where is, very interesting. You could ask a question on this whole Gemara. He says, okay, how far does rebuke go? You know, till he gets angry, till he curses you out, till he wants to hit you. Okay, can you tell me exactly where the words of rebuke of Yonasan begin in this story? Tell me which pasuk? Tell me where is he rebuking his father?
He's
only
not.
at the end. Only lama.
Well,
which pasuk? Which pasuk?
Kafbet.
No, Lamed Beis. I mean
Lamed
Lamed Beis. Vayan Yonasan and Shul v'vim lev lama yumas me'asa. Isn't that the rebuke? Let's go over the story. Shul says, "Where is David?"
Right.
Says, well, I gave him permission to go somewhere. Right? Now, Shul laces into him. He gets angry, and then he curses him out.
Yeah.
Right? Now Yonasan responds. He says, what do you do? And now he wants to kill him. So if Eddie, we should have a question on the Gemara. What's the question? I don't understand the first two opinions. You rebuke somebody until he gets angry at you. Where was Yonasan's rebuke? You rebuke someone until he's ready to curse you out. Where was Yonasan's rebuke? The only opinion that makes any sense is the one that says till he hits you. Because that's after his rebuke. So what must you say? More knows what it's talking about. What must you say? That there was a rebuke in the fact that he gave David permission to go away. That itself has to be a rebuke. In other words, who are you to let him go away? Kind of thing. And more than that, you knew he was a marked man. So, rebuke can have many forms of rebuke. One rebuke is he's telling the father, I let him go to a simcha. And therefore I'm rebuking you for what you think he's a dead man. So that itself was already strong words. And just, that has to be. Because otherwise the Gemara doesn't make any sense about those three opinions. So let's just see what the Musar Navim brings out. He says, so he brings down from the Sefer Chinuch, a mitzvah Reish Lamed Tes. It says from the mitzvah of it is Shechiv Mitzdacha Hi Ad Hakal. Sefer Chinuch paskins like the third opinion. You rebuke until you get hit. Until you get hit. Klomer Shechayv Mochiach Laharba Sochachas Alachote Ad Kidei Shea Korav Achote Lahakas Es Hamochiach. You give him rebuke until it's close
To being hit.
to the sinner is going to hit you. You don't have to wait till he hits you, till it's close to hitting you. That's what the Sefer Chinuch says. So he says, so he says, V'nei yesh lishol, you can ask, V'nei ma einu mefarish kipshuto da'ad hakol. Why don't we learn the Pashut? What is the Gemara saying? Gemara says, how long do you bring until he hits you? Till he hits you. So why does the Sefer Chinuch learns until he'll hit you, until the point, but not including, why didn't the Sefer Chinuch say it's the simple pshat of the Gemara says until he actually hits you? So you could say, you could say it's logical. It's logical to say, why should a guy to do a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah saseh, a positive mitzvah, to rebuke somebody. But nobody has to do a mitzvah saseh to the point where he's going to get hit. In other words, it's logic. Logic says, it means until you get hit, but not to get hit. Since when to just do a mitzvah do you have to suffer? There are limitations. For example, only so much money do you spend on buying a lulav, and that's true. You don't make yourself a pauper.